Canada's electricity industry is the single largest utility employer nationwide, and it is experiencing significant transformation, driven by the digitization and decentralization of our electricity system and the accelerating electrification of Canada's economy. These shifts and other forces are significantly impacting the electricity industry's current workforce and the talent and skills it will require in the years ahead. TheFutureEconomy.ca recently published an in-depth series on the future of the Canadian electricity industry and its workforce in partnership with Electricity Human Resources Canada. We interviewed 12 leaders in the industry to gather their views on how the sector and its workforce must adapt, and why. One of the main forces shaping the sector's future is climate change. Although approximately 80% of electricity production in Canada comes from non-emitting sources, the electricity sector is the country's fourth largest source of greenhouse gas emissions. Significant changes to how we generate, distribute, and monitor the consumption of electricity are going to be necessary for Canada to achieve its emission reduction targets. As demand for power grows in line with Canada's shift to a greener and increasingly electrified economy, the electricity sector's workforce must adapt. Michelle Brannigan is the CEO of Electricity Human Resources Canada, a not-for-profit group working to strengthen the Canadian electricity industry's ability to meet its current and future workforce needs.
A skilled and trained workforce is an essential component to decarbonization.
With the increase in demand for electricity across the country and a large cohort of the industry's labor force approaching retirement, it is expected that electricity employers will have to hire 20% of their current workforce in the coming years.
We know that we need to build our labor pool. Over 86% of our hiring needs right now are as a result of retirements. Just 14% is due to expansion.
Retirements alone represent 75% of the electricity workforce's labor requirements in the coming years. Not only does the electricity labor force skew older, but it is also very much white and male. Women make up only 1/4 of the Canadian electricity workforce, compared to the national average of 48%. In the trades upon which the electricity sector relies, that number is even lower, at 4%.
The current workforce is overwhelmingly male and older. So not only is that a risk because of that lack of diversity creates tunnel vision, but we're missing out on a whole load of talent and innovation by not bringing in more people that are not traditionally there into the workplace. And that means looking at groups that we can draw from. So Indigenous people, for example, more women, internationally trained workers.
The demographic challenges facing our electricity sector are coming at a time when new technologies are rapidly changing how electricity is generated and distributed in Canada. Sector-specific innovations like smart meters and renewable energy storage are expected to have a considerable impact. And technologies like artificial intelligence, automation, and the industrial Internet of Things are already transforming the sector. For example, labor market information shows that electricity sector stakeholders believe processing power and big data are set to have the biggest overall impact. Analyzing data from their customer base will allow large electricity utilities to better predict consumption and better manage their production. This will increase the reliability of the electricity supply and improve the accuracy of energy demand forecasting. Kathy McCrum, Vice President of Human Resources and Safety at Sask Power, by far the largest electricity provider in Saskatchewan, describes the innovations in data collection and processing as a science.
It is really becoming a science. So I would say that is a big piece for us. And just amalgamating all of the technologies and having a centralized operations center that is really keeping an eye on all of it and what are we doing with it and making sure that we can actually make use of this data that is at our fingertips. That's certainly going to change how we're hiring and then again, our requirements in terms of being able to really get in there and look at the data and make sound decisions and critical thinking.
But automation may have the highest economic impact. Currently, unexpected system disruptions cost the industry an estimated $10 billion in lost production each year, and 40% of all abnormal events are attributed to human error. Issues like these could be eliminated through the use of AI-powered data generation, improving the overall efficiency of the grid. Another critical innovation is smart grid technology, described as the next generation power grid, which integrates a broad array of information and communication technologies like smart meters and smart appliances to enable real-time data exchange between electricity suppliers and their customers. Not only will this play an important role in energy conservation, but it will be a driving force in the eventual decentralization of Canada's energy supply. Combined with the requirements for new skills driven by tech adoption across the sector, there is still a shortage of workers with the traditional skills needed to keep the electricity sector operating, according to Adrian Thomas, country president of Schneider Electric.
For the last 10 years, we've continued to see shortages of certain skilled workers, such as industrial electricians. So I think we need more of some of the traditional skills, no matter what. And then we need to look at what other skills are now coming in with these new technologies.
The electricity sector's demographic challenges and technological advancements create the need for many new professionals in the industry who have the skills required to design, build, operate, and manage Canada's next-gen electricity systems and companies.
We do have an industry that's in flux, and all of those major trends really do have one thing in common, and that's the need to build teams with the skills that are actually going to be able to manage the power systems of the future. So regardless of the energy source, developing a supply of skilled, agile, adaptable workers is going to be critical to ensuring Canada's long-term electricity stability at the end of the day.
Because the electricity industry is evolving so rapidly, its future workforce will need to have different skills than were traditionally required. These include specialized technical and digital skills, critical business skills, and blended skills. These changes in the skills required within the workforce translate into shifting demand for specific occupational groups. Those skills most in demand will be in information and communication technology, which includes database analysts and distributors, software engineers and designers, information system analysts, and computer network technicians. These are followed by demands in the trades, specifically power system operators and electrical mechanics. Roberta Haikawi, a representative of the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, an electricity sector workers union, is witnessing this demand.
Changes in technology influence the industry, and that directly influences the type of workforce required. Since infrastructure is the foundation of this industry, electricians, linemen, engineers will always be needed. Technologists and technicians, data scientists, IT specialists, and workers with experience in solar power, wind generation, and other renewable energies definitely float to the surface when talking about required disciplines. Occupational health and safety, as well as environmental science fields, are becoming really strong focuses too.
Employers and educational institutions both have a role to play in creating the electricity workforce of the future. And while the challenges laid out before them are significant, solutions have already been identified. An initial priority is to reskill and upskill the current workforce. Workplace training programs offer contextualized and relevant skills development for workers to succeed and can address common knowledge gaps. Najla Rove, Vice President of People and Culture at Spark Power, shared how this is a great opportunity for those already in the electricity workforce.
For technical employees, that means a very exciting time to upgrade some of their training and development and transform their skill sets along the way, because we will still need individuals who understand and can troubleshoot and can install and maintain these types of systems.
However, among employers who provide training programs, less than 1/3 offer programs that target digital skills, which is an area that needs to be addressed. A second solution can be found by working with post-secondary institutions to deliver responsive curricula that meets the electricity industry's current needs. One highly viable option is the advancement of work-integrated learning opportunities. Sarah Plouffe, the former director of the Government of Canada's Student Work Placement Program, highlighted the need for all industry stakeholders to work together in achieving this goal.
By working all of us together, it is the best and most efficient way to promote efficient labor market and having access for students to the best training and quality of workplace learning opportunities. And I think it's not a one-stop shop or one group or one organization or one sector of the economy that can do this on their own. It absolutely needs to be a team effort.
Kevin Weaver, the Vice President Academic of Georgian College, spoke to TheFutureEconomy.ca about how post-secondary institutions can support both students and lifelong learning.
We know it's important we teach students to adapt, to enhance their professional skills, and to be prepared for a lifelong learning journey, because that's what it's going to take in all sectors, but in particular this sector, which is ever evolving and changing. So with modernization of the grid, electrification, green energy, lots of opportunity. We need to adapt, be nimble, and we need to listen, quite frankly, to our employers and what they're asking us to provide our students, and to help those employers as well with upskilling and reskilling of their current labor force to stay abreast of all these changes.
Work-integrated learning is also identified by Michelle Brannigan of EHRC as a key element to preparing Canada's next generation of electricity workers. And part of that responsibility lies with employers who can provide these opportunities to students.
It's so important for employers to commit to providing those work-integrated learning opportunities to students. So, co-op placements, paid internships. Not only does it provide the employer with access to new talent that has the latest training in new technologies and business practices, it gives the students the opportunity to learn professional skills before they graduate.
Co-op placements and paid internships not only help employers expand their talent pipeline, but they also deliver direct economic value to the organization, according to Anne-Marie Fannin, the director of the Work Integrated Learning Program at the University of Waterloo.
What we've learned at Waterloo in over 60 years of running the world's largest co-op program is that time after time, once the employers have brought that first student into the workplace, they report so many benefits. There was a study that was done by Deloitte in 2019 that showed for every dollar that an employer expended in paying a student, they received $2 back in value from that student. And another study that was done of over 1,000 of our co-op employers, over 93% reported a positive return on investment for their time spent mentoring and supervising that co-op student.
While training programs and collaborations with academia will help Canada's electricity industry prepare its current and future workforce, there's still a significant challenge to tackle: attracting youth and diverse groups into the sector. Political momentum for a greener economy is accelerating across Canada, and in a survey done by EHRC, 90% of millennials and Gen Z agree that a strong and sustainable electricity sector is crucial for a strong future economy. With this desire to see a more sustainable economy motivating young Canadians, the electricity industry has a significant opportunity to increase youth participation in the sector. TheFutureEconomy.ca spoke with Meredith Adler, Executive Director at Student Energy, a global youth-led organization empowering young people to accelerate the sustainable energy transition and equipping them with the skills, resources, and networks to advance into the energy workforce.
The electricity sector needs to be really prepared to both attract this talent, not to leave the political will for their sector on the table, but also to train this talent. I think the energy system is really complex, and we need people who are able to grapple with this complexity and think about community-based solutions, and young people are really well positioned to do that. And so I think those are the really big challenges ahead of the electricity workforce sector, is both harnessing that talent, harnessing that interest and that momentum, but also looking towards making a more inclusive sector where we're really training people for the challenges that we need them to address.
While Millennial and Gen Z have a mostly positive impression of the electricity sector, especially compared to other emitting industries like oil and gas, the greatest barrier to youth interest in careers in electricity is a lack of knowledge about the sector's working conditions and the opportunities that exist within it. Renewable sources of electricity, including solar and wind, have had the most positive impressions on Canadian youth. Increasing awareness of the fact that the majority of Canada's electricity is produced from renewable or low-carbon sources is therefore an opportunity for the power industry to attract younger generations who want to make a difference in the fight against climate change. Ken Hartwick, President and CEO of Ontario Power Generation, believes awareness can drive participation among youth.
I think if you start with the people side, a lot of it is awareness, because I think if you start off by making people aware of the challenges, and challenges are good because challenges create opportunities, and opportunities attract the best and the brightest because there's a chance to make a difference, to do things that can solve a bigger problem. And I'd say our younger people that I talk to, they want to make a difference. This, I think, one of the greatest industries to be in if you want to make a difference, especially on the climate part of what we think we are part of the answer to.
Another important priority is communicating that the electricity industry is one where steady, stable employment can be found, and where the integration of new, cutting-edge technologies and ideas presents our youth with many opportunities to innovate.
The new generation, they're looking for opportunities to grow and quickly, and they want to have a voice. And so it's very important that employers need to spend time understanding that younger generation's values, what it is that they want in a job, in a company, in an industry. You think about the integration of digital and emerging technologies across all sector operations. And so there really is a lot to attract young people to the sector. I really do believe that investing in young people now is going to drive innovation through the introduction of new ideas, new perspectives, new priorities.
Although the electricity industry has lots to offer for people of all backgrounds, women are less likely than men to consider a career in electricity. So particular focus must be paid to increasing female engagement. One Canadian demographic that is also currently underrepresented, but is increasingly likely to consider a career in the industry, are Indigenous Canadians. Two leaders from Indigenous Clean Energy, Aaron Stewart and Ricky Lee Watts, spoke with TheFutureEconomy.ca about what the electricity sector must do to engage and attract more Indigenous youth and the opportunity therein.
Where I think there's a major opportunity right now is for more Indigenous people to be involved in utilities, to play influential roles in utilities, in government. I also think about the evolution of the sector. When we look at the amount of energy generation projects that will be in the coming years, there is still opportunities, but it's quickly diminishing as there's less of a need. And so where do we look to in terms of diesel reduction projects and microgrids, to energy efficiency in housing and retrofit projects, to transmission and distribution projects and other electrification of the sector?
To further increase Indigenous youth and underrepresented groups in the electricity workforce, it is important that they see themselves reflected in the energy sector.
I think what's really important for attracting Indigenous youth to these spaces is for Indigenous youth to see themselves in that space, to see leaders and role models who are in that space and knowing that they can follow in those footsteps upon that pathway, knowing what the dream destination may be, the pathway to get there, and the confidence to take those steps.
Among the recommendations tabled by EHRC to attract more youth and underrepresented groups to the sector are awareness campaigns, increasing gender diversity and visibility in the workforce, recruiting for future areas of employment like IT and management, and storytelling that engages others. It is perhaps the last point, storytelling, which holds the most promise and will have the biggest potential impact for the electricity sector. Communicating the many benefits of working in the electricity industry is a solution that most of our interviewees agree needs to be prioritized.
Communications are going to be really important, both in regards to energy literacy and the opportunities that exist for employment in this sector. Storytelling so important. We need to do a much better job of telling the incredible electricity story to our next generation of talent.
Canada's electricity industry is in the midst of an unprecedented transformation driven by game-changing technologies and the need to reduce emissions by accelerating the electrification of all aspects of our economy. Recruiting and training a resilient, highly skilled, and diverse electricity labor force is absolutely necessary to enable the sector to successfully manage this transition. The sector must therefore continue to tackle its demographic challenges by upskilling its current workforce, as well as attracting Canada's younger generations, women, Indigenous populations, and other underrepresented groups to power Canada's future economy.